Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, we do our best to catch a lift, which is easier said than done, given that we have apparently run into a bit of an impasse with the local leaders. To them, we are not but ghosts in the machine. And while I did find a couple of investigation points we apparently missed our first time through, they weren't really anything of substance. It was just more of Pascal criticizing the locals. But I did notice we can apparently talk to Abel, so let's see what he's got to say. Abel looks upon the tech barbarians with a moderate degree of curiosity, without attempting to approach or interact with them. Occasionally, his gaze rests on some sacred item covered in tribal imagery or otherwise desecrated, and he raises his eyebrows, evidently pained.
My tech comrade insisted on taking part in this excursion. This is as much a priority mission for him as it is for me. We are both expecting to meet our mentor, am I not?
Oh, is that so? Abel, anything you'd like to add to that?
The cycle is on the verge of being discontinued. Doubt has opened its maw wide, bidding us enter.
Right. Abel, just to be clear, do you understand what is actually going on? Abel averts his eyes in embarrassment and says, almost shyly,
A hunt. The hunter is coming.
Hey, Abel, surprisingly on the ball. Okay.
The hunter. The maimed hunter.
Pascal places a mechadendrite claw on Abel's shoulder, demanding an answer. Abel nods.
The maimed hunter. That persona occurred in the data I decrypted. Unfortunately, the sum total of information on it is very near zero.
Wow, Pask. Okay, so you still didn't realize we were walking into a trap. It's honestly kind of worrying that you're so single-mindedly focused that even Abel saw the obvious where you did not. Like, we already heard about the maimed hunter and the fact he's hunting Hanuman from Axiomantha. So, Abel, what do you make of all this?
The sacred archaeotech and the profane have mixed, like tainted water and sacred unguent.
Suddenly, a smile appears on his face.
This has happened before. The spirit transcends the body. The matter in which it manifests itself is transformed into something more spirit-like.
Huh. Okay, well, I think it's safe to say that's not really something that helps us, but it was still interesting. Abel does kind of strike me as like a borderline prophetic, akin to Adira or Kibbles, one of those characters who gives cryptic clues that don't really make sense until, you're already after the fact. Anyway, let's try our luck with the servitor. The ancient servitor seems dead. The infrequent twitching of his head is the only glimmer of life left in him. The numerous augmetic regalia embedded in the body of this servant of the Omnissiah speak to his high standing and devoutness. Pask, you think this thing's still salvageable? The tech priest carefully touches the servitor's withered body with his mechadendrites. Data spikes slide out of them and sink into the servitor's augmetics. Pascal's vox sounds thoughtful and slightly puzzled.
I identify this unit as Magos Logis Hectodon 11. The unit received 7 commendations for advances in astrography recorded in the Fleet Archive. The unit He liked watching the stars. He called them beacons, left for us by the Omnissiah.
Oh? Was that also in the Explorator archives? Because I've got to say that feels like a pretty extraneous factoid for them to make official note of. The servitor gives a jolt, raises its head, and fixes his augmetic eyes on you. The large black circles of his visors are clouded and covered in scratches. A pained moan comes from the speaker on the servant's throat. Unit status operational. Unit identifies itself as... No data available. Error. Malfunction. The Omnissiah knows... What? Pascal sighs heavily.
He is suffering. This unit is long past its operational life expectancy, but the particularly ancient and sacred true flesh it was awarded for its outstanding service to the fleet is still prolonging its years.
And this is someone you know. You're certainly acting like they're familiar.
This statement is false. My archive has no record of any encounters with this unit or any archive requests concerning it. I just know. And I grieve.
Pascal touches the servitor's pale skin covered in inky cacography.
The tribespeople inscribed his body with the blessed manual of maintenance and repair. Hypothesis: ignorant as to the true purpose of this litany, they perceived it as a health-replenishing magic spell.
Yeah, that tracks. More or less in line with what we've seen from them. And yeah, yet more signs that Pask is a former member of this ship's crew. Though perhaps not under his current name, which might be why it didn't recognize him. Given the whole Hanuman thing, it does seem likely the disparate parts of Amarnat all adopted pseudonyms after they separated.
Tech Brother Hectodon 11. This unit identifies itself as Pascal Hanuman. Can you hear me? Do you know me? Can you tell me what happened here?
A jumble of sounds comes from the servitor's speaker, as if a very old man who has outlived his faculty of speech is trying to utter once familiar words, now strange to him. Then suddenly a spark lights up his visors, and he utters with great strain. Executing. Function. All reserved capacities. Engaged. In executing primary function. Well, that does sound like something we should look into. Could we get access to the lift? Request denied. The rattle in the servitor's voice could be easily mistaken for indignation. Access to the lift system denied. Service is in Obscuratoria mode.
An Obscuratoria is a complete ban on holy ministry within the compound. Any and all sacred maintenance procedures are deferred until after the ban is lifted. An Obscuratoria is declared when a temple has been compromised by suspected corruption, before a battle, or in the event of a major critical incident. Hypothesis: Obscuratoria was declared ahead of a battle in order to hinder a hostile infiltration of the Observatorium. Knowing the reason enables this unit to deactivate the containment protocol.
Okay, well, I mean, you deduced there was some sort of infighting when we first approached the lift. Can you lift the lockdown? Pascal enunciates solemnly, accompanying each word with binaric commands.
As its first pronouncement, this unit declares that no security threat to the higher observatorium is present. As its second pronouncement, this unit orders the operation of the lift system to be restored. As its third pronouncement, this unit confirms its authorization to issue that order.
The servitor's jerky movement is accompanied by a shower of sparks from his mouth. His optical visor makes a series of clicks. Unit's hierarchical rank not recognized. Authorization to give orders unconfirmed. Awaiting confirmation.
This unit is not part of the Hermetico chain of command. It must introduce itself to the ship's system for confirmation of its authority.
Right, which points us right back at Pref. Yeah, confirmed by your journal. That is the one active step. So apparently we do just need to pick a different combination of responses to its queries, which may very well trigger a fight with the tribe, but I mean, I'm not seeing any other way around it at this point, so we'll do what we gotta.
I always have a backup plan.
Alright, so let's think this out. We're here for Pref's benevolence. Then we retread and identify ourselves. Refusing to give information seems like it won't get us anywhere. So it's really just these first two. And we've kind of established that Pascal might be a fake name, so Messiah of Discontinuing, which technically Pask might have been part of, so, you know, not even necessarily a lie. Followed by percussive maintenance, right? Pask, perhaps a stronger hand is called for.
This statement is true.
Pascal extends a hand toward the machine, which is enveloped in showers of sparks. The crack in the tech priest's armored respirator shines a bright green. There is steel in his voice.
My power is my authorization. Acknowledge it, or you will regret it, wayward spirit.
Wolfhard clutches his charm with one hand, and his battle-ready weapon with the other. You hear him whisper tensely. Spirit Wolf, shield my soul from the terrors of the warp and the ire of angered spirits. The tech shaman shouts out in fear and shakes his drum frantically. Pref acknowledges your power, Ghost. He does. He asks why you seek his friendship. A pained rattle comes from Pascal's vox as he touches the crack in his armor, which is no longer glowing. He looks as though he has a sudden toothache, then says with effort,
It asks the purpose of our visit.
Okay, so final choice here. I can't imagine general platitudes to the Omnissiah will get us anywhere. So again, it really comes down to either saying we're on a mission from Amarnot, who we also just technically kind of identified ourselves as, or just letting Pascal say what he said before, which was to discontinue the cycle. So if we want to keep our cover story coherent, which may or may not matter, probably better to go with Pascal's gut. Go on, Pask. You know you want to say it.
I have come to discontinue the cycle.
Hey, there we go. Third time's the charm. The tech shaman listens to the crackling that comes in response and opens his mouth to say something, only for Pascal to interrupt him in a tone of authority.
The prefect enumerator has stated that he knows my name and is familiar with my power. He respects my mission and grants me a place within the crew's chain of command. Your work here is done, Binaric Interpreter.
Pascal looks at you and adds with slight surprise.
I remember this language now. Or more precisely, this unit used to know it. And now it remembers having known it.
The tech priest turns toward the wall with the sacred mechanisms concealed inside it, and says, doubtfully,
I am registering an anomaly. The data exchange deviated from the standard registration procedure. The prefect enumerator was commanded to limit the number of people who have clearance to issue orders, including even high-ranking tech priests from other ships. It was tasked with defending the observatorium as if it were under siege. Our mutual introduction rather resembled an exchange of secret passwords.
Yeah, which I suppose would help explain some of the general anomalies in the interaction. Makes sense. The only people authorized to go up are likely the surviving pieces of Amarnot. They would still have the memories to navigate the whole password sequence. Temporarily locked away, but as we're seeing with Pask, seemingly set to start unlocking once they return to the Hermetico. A spasm in the servitor's neck makes his chin twitch. All right, Pask, you're in the system now. Think we can move this thing along?
Hypothesis. As soon as the lift going up to the observatorium is operational, we will be attacked. The deck guard will activate and attack us. Requesting confirmation of readiness for combat.
Oh, okay. Slightly unexpected, but not entirely so. We were kind of expecting to get into a fight here. It's just coming from a slightly different angle than we thought. Yeah, ready as we'll ever be. Let's get this done. Raising his voice, the tech priest solemnly repeats his command to the servitor. An intricate, monumental, and piercing binaric aria pours from Pascal's Vox. Encoded in its signals is Hanuman's authority to give orders on this ship. The servitor stares at Pascal with visored eyes and bows his head awkwardly. Regalia identified. I greet the venerable Magos and will execute the order presently. Lift system activated. The servitor's last words are drowned out by a harrowing screech that rolls across the deck as several shrill voices wail. Security perimeter breach for the Omnissiah! Ah, poor Abel. Yeah, just get clear, bud. We'll take care of this. Alright. Time for fight. And it does seem like the tribe is sitting this one out, so I do feel better about that. I'd much rather fight the statuesque Skitarii than tribals who don't really know any better. Though this does raise other questions, like, I had assumed that Brass Whisper had immobilized the Skitarii, but it now seems like they're actually just in, this dormancy mode as long as the lockdown is in place. And the lockdown, in theory, has been in place since the original attack on the Hermetico. Though no, the chief also mentioned that the Rust Wraiths, still reactivated whenever an intruder came in and tried to steal the password, the forbidden words, which he also mentioned the ghost with no face, the faceless ghost, Brass Whisper, knew. So I guess my question is, how did Brass Whisper access the observatorium
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones.
without lifting the lockdown and thus reactivating the Rust Wraiths? I suppose in theory, if they had the appropriate commands, they could have re-implemented lockdown afterwards. But the Rust Wraiths still would have theoretically attacked, since at the moment they just seem to be attacking anyone trying to go up there. Even though we We just identified ourselves as a figure of authority in the ship's official hierarchy. Maybe that'll be explained once we actually get up there. Oh, interesting. That one's actually still dead. Huh. Not seeing any others that are still frozen. I wonder why that one was different. Not that I'm too fussed about these guys attacking us, of course. I'm pretty sure we can handle it. So really, I'm just kind of using this time to mull on what we've learned thus far. Oh, you know, I guess in theory, Axiomantha was also in Kalkazar's possession, and she did seem to have recovered at least some of her memories. So perhaps in theory, that's how Brass Whisper / the Faceless Ghost / the Maimed Hunter acquired access information of some sort. I mean, we had to piecemeal it ourselves based on guesswork and Pascal's slowly returning memories. But in theory, if Axiomantha had greater recall already, she could have provided more concrete information on how to not reactivate the guards, and thus give Kalkazar's agent much easier access. Yeah, alright, that tracks. Based on what we learned back on Euphrates 2 and now on the Hermetico, I want to say the general timeline is Theodora and Amarnot used to work together. They found Epitaph together. They recovered some sort of powerful alien artifact, seemingly tech-oriented, since that's what they derived the weaponized tech blight from.
My vow is to serve.
But it was also intended to basically be a xenotech device of creation, since it seems to have spawned Nomos, though neither of them noticed. And then somewhere along the line, Kalkazar, either having already been in contact with Theodora or coming into contact with her afterwards, learned about the weapon and essentially stole it from Theodora, erasing the memory of her and her crew,
Running binary override.
and having Amarnot killed, since, of course, presumably, he was the one who was actually researching it, likely on Kiava-Gamma, which I suppose would also help explain why that whole planet essentially fell into heresy shortly afterwards.
I hunger for battle.
Which, as aforementioned, is likely where the now defunct cult of the Final Dawn first came in. Largely side players in the grand scheme of things. They were the most obvious enemy pitched at us right at the beginning of the game. But in the end, barely a footnote. You know, much in the same way the Dark Elves were pitched as the primary foes in Act 2 and 3, only to now largely have fallen by the wayside as well. Again, bit part players in Kalkazar's grand schemes. So regardless of the exact timing, Kalkazar seizes the weapon, kills Amarnot with the assistance of the misled Space Marines, wipes Theodora and her crew's memories, driving Theodora into paranoid madness. Her calling us in, our character and our late psychic cousin, whose name escapes me, sorry bud, was likely part of her desperation tactic to try to figure out what was really going on. You know, she likely suspected that Conrad was compromised. We were probably meant to be her new Master of Whispers. Yeah, because, like, when she did the giant searching her ship for treachery with Zacharias, that would have probably turned up Conrad's treasonous designs. Whereas our psychic cousin was probably brought in to serve much the same purpose that Adira had, or to supplement the astropaths she had burned out performing that ritual. And then meanwhile, Calcazar went into full cover-up mode, moving his players around on the board, trying to eliminate anyone who might compromise his plans. Whilst Axiomantha spearheaded research into the weapon he had stolen, and the remaining surviving members of the Ambernaut Collective, since we don't know how many might have been killed during the initial assault on the Hermetico, scattered to the winds under new identifiers, with their memories suppressed, albeit with kind of a comically obvious tell, all sharing the same surname, it would seem. Abel, Demence, Tarzus, Pass, obviously. All marked as loose ends, with Brass Whisper / the Maimed Hunter tasked with hunting them down. Hence the multiple attempts to kill Tarzus, leading him to confront us by mistake.
But of course, Lord Captain.
As well as the attempt on Pascal's life, though he thwarted that himself during the very first cutscene we saw him in.
Nothing stands against me.
He used his mysterious power to blow up like a giant excavator on them. Which I'm not sure has ever actually come up again. Has it? I want to say we did kind of previously speculate that fragments of Amarnaut's memory might have been concealed inside his mechadendrites, all like Dr. Octopus style. But, you know, that was before we started encountering all the other Hanu men.
I will do my duty.
Just seems like a safer bet that those are our disparate parts of the Amarnaut Collective. The Glow of Dead Stars. High-end plasma rifle with plasma explosion caused by this weapon affects targets in a 2-cell radius. Type of damage dealt to each target aside from the wielder is taken as warp damage. Well, I've got to say that actually sounds pretty terrible, because that is far more likely to inflict friendly fire than it is to actually injure any enemies. And yeah, as far as the speculation goes, you know, it was fun. It was fun going through it one last time, but I imagine it's kind of moot now. Lift is open once we go up there. We're apt to finally start getting some actual answers. Yeah, no real hint as to why that one guy stayed frozen. Oh, let's check in with the locals real quick before we head up, just in case they have something new. Abel? Quiet and mysterious as always, Abel Hanuman's demeanor is a mixture of cautiousness and curiosity as he inspects the ship's ruined interior. When you approach him, he acknowledges you by saying softly, "Death's footsteps were heard here." Interesting. Too vague as to really carry any real discernible singular meaning. Could reference the fall of the original Amarnaut Collective. Could reference Brass Whisper. Could just be a reference to the fight we just had. We killed a bunch of Skitarii, which the locals do seem pretty unfazed by, so yeah, I guess, oh, actually. No, that's what I thought. Okay, let's head on up. Time to get some answers. And there we go. Brass Whisper. Along with an Inquisition kill squad. Imagine that. And size suppressors in place. That's interesting. You know, that's one thing we haven't really considered, that the Amarnaut Collective might have been psychic in nature.
Always keep your eye on the price.
The face of the tech priest standing opposite is hidden behind a brass mask. Rather than being one piece, it is assembled from the fragments of many augmetics. You have met this man before. He is called Brass Whisper, a member of Lord Inquisitor Kalkazar's retinue.
There you are, tech brother.
Brass Whisper's voice is raspy and punctuated. His gaze is turned toward Pascal.
The salutatory procedure will be performed, and the identification codes verified after the priority request has been executed. Tell me where the blessed Amarnaut is.
Pascal's voice clangs like steel. A cracked chuckle comes from behind the mask.
You still don't understand.
Yeah, he's not the quickest on the uptake, but I am. You're one of Kalkazar's people. I knew he was involved in this.
Marginally. He used to play a major part in this story. Not anymore. This meeting is held upon my initiative.
Brass Whisper surveys the Inquisition soldiers and warriors of the Omnissiah, standing motionless.
That said, I am still under the protection of the Lord Inquisitor and the Cognizance Fleet. Keep that in mind.
The locals did mention a faceless ghost. I'd wager that's you?
Response: affirmative. In order to move the Hermetico out of the procession of the damned, we had to disturb the pitiful locals.
Well, you didn't attack us the second we got up here, so does that mean you're ready to tell us what this is all about? I mean, I've already got some working theories, but I'd be happy to see how accurate they might be.
We intend to discontinue the cycle. Is that not obvious?
There is a note of sarcasm in Brass Whisper's croaking voice.
Speak, or I will rip your memories out along with the Pherom Sanctum implanted in your brain.
Pascal enunciates each word as he activates his drilling mechadendrite.
What do you know of Amarnaut?
The hollow, pained laughter from behind the brass mask is amplified by its echo.
I know everything.
Then by all means, please do share. We've been looking for Amarnaut for quite some time now. But thus far, all we found are fragments.
Looking? How absurd. You lack the very concept of what you're looking for, layman. You expect to find a man, and Amarnaut never was one. He was never one person.
I mean, I actually did deduce that, but sure.
The Amarnaut Collective was created by a group of tech priests who renounced individuality and merged into a hive mind. A mind that reasoned algorithmically but was guided by the principles and convictions of a righteous spirit. A superego that brought them one step closer to the Omnissiah. You are looking for Archmagos Amarnaut, you say?
Something clicks inside Brass Whisper's mask, and his voice becomes louder and harsher as if coated in liquid metal.
He has been by your side all this time. This statement is false. The hypothesis is without merit.
Brass Whisper interrupts him with a forceful shout.
As the cycle coils in multitudinous loops, it intersects with itself and locks us in a cage of data vows.
Pascal shudders as if struck by the motive force itself. Mechadendrites rise like steel wings behind his shoulders. The voice from his Vox speaker takes on an otherworldly profundity and power.
And therefore, the cycle must be discontinued.
Oh, activation phrase. Okay, so Brass Whisper definitely has full intel. So Pask is part of the hive mind. Yeah, I figured.
More than a mere part, he was its original creator. The Amernaut Collective was designed to be a philosopher and researcher. The concepts he produced were so powerful that they almost destroyed the Cognizant's fleet. But then he faced an unsolvable dilemma. And that was when Amernaut came apart. The 6 constituent servants of the Omnissiah hid their own memories from themselves behind false personas and were sent off to various parts of the Coronis expanse. They went into hiding. Each had to live in solitude for many decades, accumulating individual observations before eventually bringing that experience back to a reunited Amernaut, who would then tackle the dilemma once more. That would be the restoration.
Sorrow echoes in Pascal's inhuman voice.
The years have slipped through my fingers like sand. It was such a long time ago.
Your companion looks overwhelmed and pensive. So all these Hana men we've been encountering, all constituent parts of Amernaut? 6 in total, you said?
Yes, 6 mental keynotes. Demence was paranoia. After the separation, he sensed that his memory was a web of lies, and that feeling drove him to the depths of madness. Tarzus was faith, fiery and unyielding. Axiomantha was logic, unclouded by emotion or value judgments. Abel was her good twin, imagination. He did not know his past, just like the others, but he felt more than they did. He was always different. That was why he was the first to get close to the restoration. One of the first. Pascal was judgment, the moderator of the cognitive process, the one who makes the decision.
Pascal's voice rises to the vault of the observatorium and rumbles beneath it like thunder.
And Nihel.
The brass mask starts to unlock with a hissing sound. The augmetics bend back, revealing a face disfigured by burns. A woman's face with a pair of darkly radiant, vibrant eyes.
Skepticism. The one who doubts.
Calcazar's inside source. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting title, too, The Skeptic. Seems like Amernaut may have been doomed from the start with someone like you in their midst. Though honestly, even some of the others might have been pretty problematic. Paranoia? Faith and fury? So wait, where exactly does Calcazar fit into all this? He did attack Amernaut, right? So I'm assuming he was your unsolvable dilemma? The one you split up over to go into hiding, to survive, to gather better perspective, and someday, decades later, reunite and overcome? I've got to say, that seems like a pretty huge risk to take.
The restoration was statistically calculated on a level beyond your comprehension, layman. Billions of variables were taken into account. Countless scenarios went into the development of optimal strategies. 2 Ammernaut units meeting each other was an inevitable certainty. The matching identifiers were to be a spark that would start a chain reaction. And that was precisely what happened.
A ringing brittleness centers Pascal's voice.
We were motivated by the perfect stimuli. Curiosity, anxiety, shame. Each part of us was hostage to the legend of a betrayal it had committed. For suffering drove us to search and strive.
So this dilemma, was it Kalkazar or something else? The weaponized tech blight? The thing you found on Epitaph?
Its name was Eschatos, the secret to the right of putting a machine spirit to death, a technology embodying the discontinuing of the cycle. Was it meant to exist? Or was it the acme of profanity against the Omnissiah and his creation?
Pascal continues Brass Whisper's speech in a lofty tone.
Eschatos was the perfect weapon against the creations of the Omnissiah that had been corrupted by enemies, but also against his faithful servants. Its spread could bring victory to the Imperium, or it could destroy it. Eschatos could spell the end of the Adeptus Mechanicus, for it was the perfect answer to the power wielded by the cult of the Machine God. Was it a blessing or a curse?
Oh, okay, so that's something completely different. But possibly related? There was a dead nuclear reactor down below.
There was no answer. Protraction was unacceptable, and so a way was found to shelve the issue.
Brass Whisper gives a raspy sigh.
And I found the answer. Eschatos should not exist. We will correct our mistake.
What exactly is Eschatos? Is it related to the Tech Blight or the artifact from Epitaph? How exactly does it tie into Kalkazar's plans?
The power of machine negation. A new spheric signal that interrupts any and all life, created by the Omnissiah.
A green flash runs along the crack in Pascal's respirator.
The power that I used to tap into, unconsciously. Shared knowledge lay dormant inside the mind of every Ammernaut unit. You tried to decrypt the other Hanuman's neurocogitators, did you not? But to no avail. It was you who created the cipher that locked Ammernaut's memory.
So why exactly are you telling us all this? You claim to be part of the Collective, but you've also been trying to kill the Collective. We know that you're the maimed hunter, and you work for Kalkazar. You expect us to trust you now?
This statement is true. I was admitted into the Lord Inquisitor's retinue and authorized to study a dangerous artifact taken from Ammernaut. It tried to exert some kind of influence on me, but my data vows protected me.
Nihil Hanuman touches her scarred face.
A short circuit awakened some of my memories. I conducted an analysis, solved the Eschatos dilemma, and began to act. My agents all but terminated Tarsus, but he hid under an armor of martyrdom and insanity.
An attempt to intercept Pascal on Alter Templum Calixes X-17 failed because Abel had summoned him. The assassins caught up to him at the Rykad Minoris starport, but he was able to escape again. Another group went after Abel, only to perish at an electro-priest monastery. You dispatched Demence, who had lapsed into heresy. Axiomantha simply disappeared until she suddenly turned up dead on Euphrates too. I have no idea how she managed to hide from me. So it seems like you don't know everything after all. It turns out that you weren't Kalkazar's only pet Hanuman. He had Axiomantha as well. In fact, she was working on the same project you were. I am registering a lie. The Lord Inquisitor shared my conviction that Amernot's legacy had to be destroyed. He was summoned to the Coronis Expanse by loyal members of the Cognizance fleet in order to depose Amernot. It was his troops that attacked the Hermetico in an attempt to obliterate our schismatic creation. And it all clicks.
So that was how you got on board the ship and into the observatorium, Nihel. Our traitorous tech comrades gave Kalkazar the access codes to the bridge, and he gave them to you.
Acute conviction vibrates in Pascal's voice as he makes these quiet statements of fact. He is not asking questions. He is passing judgment. Okay, so that was Kalkazar's exact entry point. He was invited to the Coronis by the Cognizance fleet to depose Amernot, leading to the attack on the Hermetico with the Space Wolves in tow, causing Amernot to break up, and seizing the artifact he was studying at Theodora's behest, thus setting everything else into motion. The question being, what exactly did he find, and what is he trying to accomplish with it? Because in theory, he already accomplished his original task, at least as far as the Cognizance fleet was concerned. Though he, of course, knew better since he had 2 parts of the original Amernot hive mind in his possession at that point. He had just turned them towards his own ends in doing whatever he's doing with the seized artifact. Or the Tech Blight? I'm still unclear as to whether or not they're one and the same. I want to say the Tech Blight is derivative, but not the actual yoke. I mean, at this point, we've theoretically got 3 different super weapons in circulation. Escados, the Tech Blight, and the yoke. Any one of which, it would seem, could pose a potential existential threat to the Imperium itself. Though Nihel here has obviously gone a bit rogue, she seems to be laser-focused on just the Escatos.
You were deceived, sister. Kalkazar appropriated our work. He continued our research, no longer bound by the Omnissiah's canon. And you enabled him by destroying those who could return and reclaim his bloodied prize.
Lies! Something you have not heard before creeps into Nihel's voice. A note of fear. I mean, she didn't necessarily know. Kalkazar's misled a lot of people. I'm not sure I really want to condemn her, not if we can potentially flip her against Kalkazar. So now that we're all on the same page, that we know Kalkazar's the one behind all of this, where do we go from here?
The decision is his to make.
Nihel points to Pascal.
As always.
Nihel's voice is imperiously metallic.
Tech brother, I offer you the chance to yield peacefully to a fate that will please the Omnissiah. Do not resist your termination, and you will pass into oblivion as my friend and fellow believer.
Oh, so you are still trying to kill him. Right. Well, I guess... Yeah, I guess that makes sense if her sole focus is to destroy Escados and prevent anyone from recreating it. Pascal's reply sweeps Nihel's words away like a gust of wind. His optical visor turns a blinding blue.
No, Tech Sister. Refraining from resistance was never our way. I am an explorator, a reconnoitre of knowledge. I have brought fire to 100 worlds. I have gleaned 1,000 secrets in the darkness. I am an agent of unbridled will. I will not yield to oblivion. For oblivion itself fears me.
Oh boy, Pask, buddy, you might want to take it down a few notches. You're getting a mite bit megalomaniacal. I mean, look, Pask, I'm not saying she's right, but she might have a bit of a point. Escado sounds like it goes against everything the tech priests stand for. You said it yourself. It could potentially destroy the entire Imperium. It's dangerous.
All knowledge is dangerous. The peril in knowledge is the price of it. It is a sacred fee for a right, not a prohibition.
Nihel's disfigured lips twist and seeds of dismay sprout in her voice.
I lured you here for a reason, Pascal. I wanted you to see what our followers had become. This is what deviation from dogma ends in. Breach of canon begets ignorance. Ignorance begets blasphemy. All we did was breed corruption, schism. Remember when they came to depose us? We resisted them and destroyed this ship. A sacred relic, an arc mechanicus older than our priesthood itself. Here in this hall we released Escados and allowed an unconscionable heresy to happen. Do you remember? Do you remember how you got your cleft jaw?
Pascal looks thoughtful as he touches the crack running across his armored respirator. A green spark runs through the deep gash, left by an enemy's weapon in the metal.
And it sufficed for you to merely show up in the expanse again, for the schism to rear its head once more. The Cognizance fleet is already being torn apart by a fratricidal war. Is this what we wanted? Let us finish this. Let us discontinue the cycle.
Now the words of one who once called herself Brass Whisper sound more like a plea. The voice that answers her is no human voice. It could belong to a giant void ship or a forge world if they could speak.
You violated procedure, skepticism. You usurped the function of another. You challenge only. You do not make decisions. I do.
Oh man, gosh. I mean, I like Pascal, but I also don't necessarily trust his judgment, and now he is becoming the embodiment of judgment, which, if it was bad to begin with, is probably still bad now. But then again, Brass Whisper was working for Calcazar. I mean, I'm still hoping we could potentially flip her. Having another ally against the Inquisitor would be pretty handy. I'm just not sure I really see Pask buying that. He seems pretty intent on passing judgment. And she does have some points. I mean, I'm not going to say I agree with everything she's saying, but Escados does potentially pose an existential threat to the Imperium. The schism in the Cognizance fleet has done more harm than good. But then again, is kowtowing to dogma really the best way to go? Even with everything he's gone through, while Valen may have tempered his stance on zealous imperial dogma, he does still seek temperance over the extremes that the Imperium often goes to. Look, I'm sure you both have great points, but the simple truth is that Kalkazar is at the core of all of this. There's no point in tearing each other apart when an even greater enemy awaits at both our gates. Nihel rasps a sigh and gives Pascal a look of despair.
The decision is his to make.
Right.
And I have made it.
Pascal extends a mechadendrite toward Nihel and pronounces,
Tech sister, my judgment of you and your actions is one of condemnation. Tampering with procedure is unacceptable. Sabotaging the experiment is apostasy. For your betrayal, your vital functions will be terminated in the name of the Messiah of Discontinuing.
A greenish pulse of energy is born inside Pascal's augmetics and darts towards Nihel like a furious lightning bolt. The green energy entangles Nihel like a net, burning her true flesh, draining the life force from her augmetics and mechanical components. But she focuses her will and strikes back at Pascal with a pulse of her own. The rattling voice, no longer human, rages and roars like a forest fire.
I refuse to recognize you as the Messiah. I do not believe in you.
That is your problem. You have always been too skeptical.
I bet I'll kill more than any of you!
For the Emperor!
Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
My vow is to serve.